Do you want to become a public speaker but don't know where to start? Today we're talking about how to get speaking gigs now on this episode of Coffee with Tea. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Tea. I'm your host, Tonia and I'm excited because we're going to be talking to Miss Leisa Reed, and she's going to teach you how to get some speaking gigs. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Miss Leisa Reed. Welcome to the show, my dear.
Thank you, Tanya, for having me. So excited to be here.
It's a pleasure to talk to you. I've heard nothing but great things about all of the great stuff that you have about how we can get out there and get our voices heard. So, without further ado, I'd like to let you have the floor. Let us know about how your journey story came about and what do you do and how we can connect with you.
Great question. Well, I think when it all comes down to it, we all have that time in our life where even if you were a little kid, you kind of knew what you were good at. You knew what you liked. You knew, and you didn't know maybe what jobs were, or what a career, you did not even know what a career is. But I definitely remember from when I was little that I always wanted to teach. I just had that, like when I was taking gymnastics, I wanted to be a gymnastics teacher. And then I was like, I'll be a kindergarten teacher because I know all that stuff. I don't have to learn it. I don't have to do that. And it would really follow me throughout my career. I would find a way to train everyone or to organize the content. And I even knew when I went to college, I started as a business major because I thought I want to be an entrepreneur. And I sat in one of my very first classes was speech communication. I did not know that was a major. I didn't know that was a choice. And I called my mom. It's like day 2 of college. And I said, Mom, I want to change my major. And she's like, well, hold on a second. It's Tuesday, you've been in college a day. So let's just hold tight. And so I continued absolutely loving the class that I was in. I stayed with business until second semester. I took accounting. That lasted about a week. And I said, okay, it's official. I am changing my major right now. And so I did. And I ended up getting my bachelor's degree in speech communication, my master's degree in speech communication. I actually taught in that very same room that I had that speech class. I was an instructor for at that university for 2 years. I didn't teach in
Wow.
the same room for 2 years, but I did end up, one of my classes was in that room.
Wow.
So it was a really like full circle moment. Like when you have that inner knowing that like, this is my zone, this is my jam, this is what I should be doing. Like, listen to that voice, because I was 18 when I sat in that room and knew this is cool. This is my jam. And although I did do it when I was in grad school and I got to teach and everything like that, when I was out in the quote unquote real world, I mean, there's not a job that's like, I am a speech communicator, right? Like, I don't know what job to look for. And I knew I didn't want to get my PhD at the time. And so I went and did other things, and I did have my own business, and I was in sales, and I worked for great companies and other universities and colleges and things like that. And ultimately, a personal development company uh, that I had fallen in love with as a client said, would you like to speak on our behalf and like develop clients and like attract clients? I said, absolutely. So now, Tanya, by the time this happened, I was 40. So it was like this little secret dream and this desire that had always been there as I look back didn't really like come to full fruition until I was 40 years old. I say that just to like close routers, right? Like, or just, I don't know, maybe I needed to have all the skills that I had. There's no regrets. And I use a lot of the skills that I learned along the way to help my clients. But that's a really long way of saying, really long way. But I'm keeping it real today. You know what I mean? Like you just got to keep it real.
Oh yeah,
And
I love it. Like I said, because I think, like you said, you had to have a set of skills, and I think we talked about, not diving too much into the religion and spirituality, but you believe that universe guides you along for your path, and you shared a little bit about divine timing. So like I
Mhm.
said, maybe like you said, you developed all the skills that you needed. So your journey is your journey. So
Yeah, it
that's
is. It
awesome.
kind of works itself out. So then the first year I did actually become a speaker. I didn't, even though I had those degrees, I hadn't ever done it professionally. I didn't really know what I was doing. I call it ignorance on fire. I was like super excited. I was so passionate about my topic. I knew what I was teaching about or speaking about was really going to help people shift their life. And so I just went for it. And then I had one thing to offer and only one item. And if you wanted it, that's all I had to offer you. Like, here's how much it is. I can't fluctuate on the price. I can't fluctuate on the item. Do you want it or not? Right. Which is really tough. I didn't know that at the time because see, ignorance is bliss. You don't know. And so I booked over 80 speaking engagements that very first year. And I
Wow.
say that because like people sometimes think, oh, I can't be a speaker. I'm too old, or oh, I have to learn all this. I don't have a degree, or I don't have a this, or I don't have a certification, or whatever, whatever. Right. And the bottom line is if you have some kind of expertise that people can benefit from, right? Which most of us do, and you have desire to share that message, then it's possible. Like those two things, the most important things.
I think a lot of people get hung up on, not will somebody hear my stuff, but I'm learning that there's somebody, and there's 7 billion people on this planet. Somebody's looking for your
Someone,
message.
yes, there is someone who needs to hear what you have to say. And there's someone who has the problem that you can solve, and I think, yeah, too, like when we try to like be everything to everyone is when we get into trouble, or we clam up because we think, well, no one wants to hear my stuff, or those are just those gremlins in your voice saying in your head saying you're not good enough or whatever. And I'm here to say, do it. Like you can totally do it. You can do it. But it does help when you have some expert guidance on the way, no doubt.
Right. And this is part where I'd like to say Lisa's already dropped golden nuggets everywhere. So if you've been picking them up like I have, please give us a thumbs up and let us know. Maybe follow up with a comment. And then we're going to talk a little bit about, like she said, ignorance on fire, which I love that. So it's like, did you, I mean, I know you said you had a mentor. I'm sure you probably had a little mentor that guides you along the way, but
Oh, yeah.
what's one of the biggest things that people are just like hung up on starting their speaking engagement that you think they just tripping themselves up?
I think one of the first things that comes up is what do I talk about? And like I was actually talking to a client, potential client this morning, and she's very intelligent, very bright. She's well high up in her industry, ton of credibility. And she's like, my topic's really boring. How do I make it exciting? Like it's got to be regulated and in compliance and stuff like that. So how do I get them to be excited about that and want me to come speak at all the conferences? And I'm like, well, we're going to talk about that. So we all have doubts, even if you're just starting out. And usually, once we get that, I call it get your talk ready to rock. Once we get your talk ready to rock, you can breathe and like, you've got this. And we make it work. So there's a thread that goes through to help you monetize that talk. So it's not just like a talk that's everyone says, oh, that was really great, and then walk away. No, you're leading them to whatever that next step is to work with you or to contact you or buy your XYZ thing.
I love it. I love it. So what would you say? I know you are, like, so you got some golden nuggets already for people who are starting out. So, what would your advice for people who are saying, like, I can't find speaking engagements? What would you tell them? Are you not
Yeah.
looking hard enough? What would you
Yeah.
say?
Well, so that's why I said that's not the first. That's why I said the first thing is get your talk ready rock. Because if you say that, if you like, say you want to become a speaker, and you are so brave that you change it on your Facebook profile or your whatever profile you got, your Clubhouse or whatever you're on right now, and it says speaker, or you go to a party or a virtual party these days, but you go somewhere and you say, oh, I'm a speaker now. The very first question people are going to ask is, what do you think? They're going to say, oh,
What do you
well, what are
speak
you
about? What do
speaking
you
about?
talk
What,
about?
yeah, what are you talking about? So it's almost like once you have that done, it gives you the confidence to take the next step. Oh, I speak on XYZ, and it's great for audiences like ABC, and then then you're laying the tracks for that to come into you. If you don't lay any tracks, the opportunities are not going to come. I'm not saying it's like magic beans or anything like that, but if you want to get started as a speaker, I usually find that the first problem is you don't actually have a viable talk in the can, right? Like it's not done. And then or you have some doubt about it, or maybe you tried it once, it didn't really go that well. There's something blocking right there. So we get that taken care of. And then we're like, the next step is okay, let's put together a list of who are your prospective places that you would speak. Again, this is where it's nice to go back in the past because that's what I had to do I remember in college, I was a Mary Kay sales consultant, right? So in college, and this in the 90s, I had an index box. I didn't have a computer. I didn't have any fancy social media. It was me, an index box, and an index card box, and a bunch of cards. And I would write, I called this person, and then they want this lipstick, and then what I mean? It's the same kind of thing, only we have a bunch of fancy tools now that make it easier to follow up with people. But you got to put it out there. You got to develop some hustle, get some contacts. And I can show you how to do that. A, even if you don't have a budget, and B, there's everywhere. Once you start to realize how many speaking engagements there are, it's like insane, especially now was as everyone now knows how to use Zoom. They know how to, do Facebook lives, whatever. Like there's so many options. You're not limited anymore. You don't have to get on a plane, a train, a boat. You're good. You don't have to get in the car.
Right. So would you say we're limiting ourselves then? Is that the biggest
Yeah.
drawback that you
Yeah.
see?
It's scary. I get it. I'm not diminishing that there's fears that come up because no one could do your push-ups for you. Like no one can stand up there and speak for you. That's you. It's you and you. So it is intimidating, right? But when your message gets bigger than your fear, mm, that's powerful place to be. Where you're like, you know what? Yeah, I've got some hesitation. I've got a little self-doubt. I'm a little scared. I'm not really sure how this is going to turn out. I hope they like what I have to say, but people need to hear this. And when you're in that spot, that's a super powerful place to be.
I love it because that reminds me of I had a friend who reminded me. She says, "You have a great message, Tanya." She said, "You should be screaming from the rooftops. This is your message." And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I hear you. So I did.
Yeah.
What I did was I did get on and do like a YouTube video. So that was my little outlet of how I can release it. But you say when you're say a speaker, you can start out on different platforms and then migrate into the speaking engagement, right? I mean, you don't have to come in, as a trains. I mean, you know what I say. You should have some training, but I mean, you don't have to have it like one certain way, right?
No, you don't have to have it one certain way. There's lots of different ways to do it. And that's part of what I would call like your speaker strategy. Like I have one client who strictly works in like aerospace and engineering type of software, like those type of businesses and corporations. And then I have another one who speaks on grieving, and which is a complete, she still speaks to corporations, but it's a whole different ball of wax. She still also speaks to women's groups or things like that. So it just depends on your style, what kind of life you want. I mean, one thing that's cool is that entrepreneur, you can do whatever you want. I know one speaker, she's like, I won't do anything before 9 a.m. That's way too early for me. And I'm like, you could say that. You say like, I have another client who said, I said, well, how often do you want to travel? This is before we couldn't travel as much. And she said, only 365 days a year. So if you want to travel, you could travel. If you don't want to travel, you don't have to travel, so it's pretty cool. You can really make it how you want to be.
Right, right. I know we're getting close on the time and stuff like that. So, what's one thing you want people to really take away from your message that if they don't hear anything else, this is the one thing you want them to understand?
I would definitely say that if you have something, a knowledge, a skill set, a solution to a problem that can really serve people, I definitely believe that is part of our mission as a human race is like, we all have our certain special things that we're good at. We're not good at everything. But if you have that gift, that's something special that really can help a lot of people, you can make a big impact on the world when you move from that one to one to one to many. So just allow yourself to think, wow, people really could benefit from what I have to say and working with me. And so I just encourage you, if that's you and you're thinking, there's been that little voice in the back of your head, let me help you. Like, we can do this. And it doesn't take as long as you think it's going to take. It's actually very doable. And once we put the, I had a client tell me this morning, she's like, oh my gosh, I've accomplished so much in just a week. And we covered her this morning. We covered her video strategy, LinkedIn. We covered her workshop getting dialed in, putting days on the calendar. I mean, we covered a lot in just a short amount of time.
Right. I love it. So, Miss Lisa, where can people find more information about you, your services, and what you do?
Well, I have conveniently named my business the same as my website and the same as the book right here behind me. And it's getspeakinggigsnow.com. So get speaking gigs with a S now.com, because you want more than one gig, right? You want lots of gigs.
Yes, yes, yes.
There's a couple gifts on that site for you. Right away, you'll see an opportunity to get 5 top tips to get more speaking gigs. That's on there. And you can just sign up for that. And then also, if you're feeling like, okay, yeah, this is the sign I was waiting for, this is it, I'm ready to go, ready to rip that band-aid off, let's do this thing, then sign up for a call with me. It's a speaker strategy session. I'm happy to chat with you and see if I can support you in what it is that you're trying to achieve.
Well, I thank you. Thank you for so much for sharing your knowledge. And I always want to let the guests know that, this is our first time that we've actually had a conversation, but you're welcome to come back, and I would love to have you come back. Would you be willing to maybe come
Oh,
back and
yes,
talk a little bit more?
absolutely. Of
We can go
course.
deeper into the conversation and stuff like that. And I also want to remind everybody who did tune in that feedback is welcome. Email us if you have any guest and show ideas. Links to all of the sites that Lisa mentioned will be in the description box, so please check it out down there. And there's a lot of good golden gems down there. Thank you for watching, and if you're enjoying this video, again, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, let us know what you're thinking. And if you're enjoying all the insights and you want to continue to get the insights, especially like what Miss Lisa has shared today, please consider hitting that subscribe button over there. And remember, take things in stride, go with the flow, and create your own path. And we'll see you back here on another episode of Coffee with Tea. All right, bye-bye. Share with us, what was one of your takeaways from today's show? Post your answers in the comments.